Welcome to the St. Vrain Sports Report. We're glad to have you along with us. Got a special guest with us this week, Mike Apodaca, the now former head coach for football and baseball at Silver Creek. Feels weird to say that, but Mike, we're going to get more to you here in a little bit. But first off, I want to thank you for joining us, and really appreciate it. We're going to talk about your career here in a little bit, but thanks for coming on here.
Really appreciate it.
Well, it's going to be a lot of fun, but first off, we want to wrap up the spring sports because a couple of sports have happened since our last show, state girls golf and baseball. Let's take a look at girls golf and wrap things up there, where we had several local athletes participating at the state meet down in Colorado Springs. We'll take a look at the local finishers there. Madison Cantwell of Erie was the top finisher, coming in 34th. A very good field there, and I know these girls probably didn't play as well as they wanted to or have throughout the season, but just getting there, tremendous accomplishment for all these girls. Several girls from Erie, Frederick, Niwot, and a couple from Skyline as well. So girls golf finishing up last week. The other sport that finished up last week was baseball in Class 4A. Longmont was down at the state tournament. The several time delayed state tournament finally got going last week and wrapped up earlier this week. But Valor Christian was the winner there, and Longmont 0-2. Not the way they wanted to finish the state tournament after a great regular season, going 19-2 going into state, but 0-2 down at state. And Mike, before we get to your Silver Creek time, I want to ask you about the Raptors, because you playing or coaching baseball at Silver Creek, coached against Longmont this year, 19-4, 13-1 in the Northern Conference. You've had some runs like that. They had a great run and just didn't play that well down the stretch, but that was a good Longmont team, wasn't it?
Well, I tell you what, I really respect Coach Phobes. He's a good one and has done great things with that program. And we saw them at probably a crucial point in both of our seasons, and lost 2 one-run games to them. And when you're able to look back and see the great run that they had, that group of seniors just was kind of special. They kind of willed their team onto something. And you know, any good teams that we've had, it's the same thing. Those seniors kind of take the reins, and they had a couple. So really a great run and a great team to play, honestly.
Yeah, and really the great senior you were going to have this year ends up having a great year in California. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit. Yeah. But Mike, the real reason we have you here, obviously, is because you're moving on from Silver Creek after many years there, and the head coach at football for 15 years, and you were there before that. I mean, Silver Creek opened up, what was it, 17 years ago? 2001. Yeah, 17, yeah. But you were there from the beginning, right? Because you were an assistant in basketball and football. Not the first football coach, but you were there from the beginning. And so you're moving on to Cheyenne Central, which is your alma mater. And so just kind of talk about that decision for me. And that's tough to move after all these years in one community, one school, to just to move. But talk about that decision.
You know what? Probably don't have enough time in this show, Brian, to go over. It was a heck of a journey and a process to get to it. But you know, ultimately, I think that, you know, professionally, both as an educator and a coach, it was kind of at a crossroads. Like, if I'm going to do something, I need to do it now. And there was probably, you know, 1 or 2 places anywhere that I would have looked at, and Cheyenne Central was one of them. And you know, had an opportunity about 4 years ago, but wasn't ready at that point. And really, you know, sum it up in a nutshell, that's probably what it was. Is professionally, I just, you know, if I was ever going to do something, it was going to be now.
Yeah, and you are going back home. You went to high school there. How much did that play a role into your desire to go to Cheyenne Central? And I imagine you still got a lot of people you know back there.
You know, it's funny, it definitely played a factor, but in some regards, maybe not as big as people would, you know, maybe allude to. It was a lot of things. Like I said, professionally, I do have a lot of family there. It was a program that was looking for some resurgence, and there was a lot of desire as well on their part to, you know, to maybe find that person that they think they could do it. So it just seemed like the right time, right fit, again, with a family there, and then also all of my kids kind of branching out in their own ways. It was just something that, again, if it was going to happen, this was the right time. But I am excited. There's a comfort level in there. I've teased some people that as much excitement as there is, sometimes I feel like I'm going back to my 30th reunion, and that's a little daunting, because you know, a lot of things have changed. But hopefully we'll get some things going there.
Yeah, much easier to move now as opposed to a few years ago when you had kids that were still in school and things like that. But
sure.
Obviously some great memories with Silver Creek, your time there in 15 years, lots of great things. And we want to show a little highlight clip of some of the great moments in football over the last 15 years with Mike Apodaca. well, Mike, certainly some fun times there over the years, and that's not all the 15 years, but that was certainly a lot of those clips from that great 3-year run that you guys had, 2011 to 13, and winning the state title there in 2012. Is that right? Yeah.
Yep.
And seems like time flies, but such a great run and so many great memories. I know you mentioned some of your old players came back and threw a little party and some memories there. But as you watch those clips, I mean, does it bring back a flood of memories for you?
It does, and the funny thing is those are all the good times, obviously, but the reality of it is the tough times are just as fond, and sometimes maybe even more because you realize what a program went through, what the kids that may not have ever held up that state title did to get it there. So, it was all good. It was, to the point as I move forward, we'll never replicate that, in a lot of factors, being a new program, having my family involved in the program, and then all the relationships they'll always be special. And I'm really grateful I had the opportunity.
Yeah, we've got a graphic here looking at some of the numbers from your time at Silver Creek as far as football goes. And obviously 15 seasons, here you go, 2003 to 17. And it says 99 and 69, but Mike reminded me just a bit ago that there's one game there that's missing. That game you guys went down to Florida, so it's really 169. So you did reach that 100-win plateau. 7 playoff appearances, 2 conference titles, 3 state championship game appearances, the 2012 state championship, and 3 12-win seasons. And Mike, I remember my first year, 2004, with the Times Call, and being there. Silver Creek had been beat up for a number of years, just starting out, and the first playoff run. I remember you guys going down to Conifer, and just kind of tasting that for the first time, and some of those great kids down there, and the names of all those kids all these years later are escaping me. But you mentioned kind of building things up, and that was rewarding. I mean, I almost feel like that's got to be as rewarding as the state titles. You get to the playoffs and it's the first time ever, and you don't know what you're doing, and it didn't go as well as you want. But that's got to be rewarding, getting a team that's been beat up to the playoffs.
Absolutely. Like I said, as rewarding of anything I've ever experienced. And that was a group that was a group of the freshmen, our first group of freshmen that got beat up. We went to Sterling, Colorado for the opener of Silver Creek High School against the varsity group. And obviously back in 2001, Sterling was a powerhouse. And those kids, I tell the story that we had about 30 kids out that first year, maybe 35 with 2 classes. The next year, with an additional class, we had 25 kids out. So there was just a lot of kids bailing and jumping ship because they just didn't want to be a part of something, like that. And that group of kids, there was 8 seniors on that group, and all 8 of them started both ways. And now that was a special group that really, probably set the footing of a lot of good things.
Yeah, and several players from that team were multiple sports stars, and I wish I could remember the names. You do, but like the quarterback, who was the quarterback?
Clancy.
That's right, Colin Clancy. You had a great receiver,
Tony Van Zant, Dustin Nerschel,
that's
Brian
right, Dustin Nerschel. I remember him, and Nerschel. I remember there was a game that year. You guys had Skyline, and the very last play of the game, there was a drop pass in the end zone.
Yeah, it was.
And the next week, Dustin comes back and gets the game winner.
You're exactly right.
So I remember that from years ago, and such great memories. But then you go on to the state title runs. The first championship game you got to share with your son, Austin, and how special was that to share those with your family? And both your sons got to be a part of some championship games.
Blessed, and like I said, those are things that we'll never replicate anywhere else. Obviously, we hope to do some good things, where I'm headed to. But my daughter, even her senior year, was our manager, sort of thing. So my entire family has been part of this program, and really a special opportunity that I'll always cherish that I was given that opportunity to, and will be something that will go down with us for sure.
Yeah, well, let's move on to baseball, because you did over the last 4 years take over the reins of the baseball program, and Trevor Platt moved on, and you stepped up there. We got some highlights from baseball over the last several years. All right, Mike, some great memories there as well. Only 4 years as the head coach, but did some great things in baseball as well. And you watch some of those highlights, and that's got to be just as fun in a different way. I mean, baseball obviously a little bit different from the football season, but how much fun were those last 4 years for you?
It was a blast. If I had to hang my hat as an athlete, I also played basketball and really enjoyed it. But football and baseball, without a doubt, the two sports that I really attached myself to. So to get an opportunity to do something at that high of a level at a school that you really just was, just loved, sort of thing. It was special, and again, the opportunity to be able to do it was really one of a kind.
Yeah, well, let's take a look at the numbers from your 4 years with the baseball program, and 2015 to 18, 49 and 33, 2 playoff appearances, 1 conference title in there, and a state appearance. So that's 3. There was 1 state appearance, which was last year, 2017. Winning record in 3 of the 4 seasons, and this year being the one exception, just 1 game under, which had you beaten Longmont in one of those 1-run games.
Yeah.
Like they got you on a walk-off, I believe, and so beat Longmont once, and you got that 4 out of 4 winning records. But a good run in baseball, and that great team last year, made it to the state tournament. And how much fun was it just to see some success for Silver Creek and kind of get baseball going a little bit as well?
It really was. Is that we had definitely had some success under Coach Platt, and part of that was that program in and of itself meant a lot to me. My kids went through it. That it was one of the reasons I took on the responsibilities. Timing of it worked, and it was really important to just kind of try to hold that thing together and get it to a place where hopefully for years it can be. And I'd like to believe in in both of them that that this wasn't the end of Silver Creek. There's great things on the horizon for that school and those 2 programs in particular, and I'm excited to be able to watch from afar.
Yeah, and you also coached a basketball, boys and girls basketball, as an assistant, and one of the few original Silver Creek staffers that was still around, and Bob Banning has been around there, and Colossia was there for a number of years until recently. And so, what will you miss about Silver Creek?
The people. You hear that all the time, and when you're in it and you're in these fields, it's the people, the relationships, without a doubt. I mean, the wins and losses, they just happen, and the more you do them, the less you remember of any of them, in all honesty. And so just the lifelong relationships and being a part of kids' development and future, or you can't put a price on it. And so I'm just excited to finish following some of these kids that are in the program as they go through. Obviously, especially a lot of the seniors, that's never an easy time to move. It's eventually going to happen for all of us. And so, the relationships, without a doubt, are what I'll miss.
Awesome. I want to wrap it up by asking you about 3 athletes, 3 of your former athletes. One whose career is ending, one whose career is still trying to really get going, and another one whose career is really going to get going here soon. But we're going to start with Isaac Miller, a great offensive lineman during your great run in football. I went up to CU, and I had a chance to cover him at CU, and the career is coming to an end. Just injuries weren't able to let him keep going, but special talent there. One of the best players to ever come through. And just talk about Isaac real quick.
I tell you what, Isaac started on all 3 of those state championship teams. So he started as a sophomore, and Isaac was a kid that, when I sit back and think about Isaac, what I think is it was important for him to do his best at whatever he did, whether the football, obviously the academic side, and just one of the most coachable kids, most respectable kids I've ever been around. And as we were talking earlier, you can take a little solace in Isaac, knowing that Isaac's going to be just fine. That's a great kid with a great head on his shoulders. That whether we hear it in the sporting realm, and from what I gather from Isaac, he talked about maybe a team doctor kind of role is ultimately. We might not hear it in the headlines of the player, but I don't think it's the last we'll hear of Isaac just in the sports arena. He's a really talented kid, special kid, and was really blessed to have a kid that worked so hard and really just owned being an offensive lineman, because a lot of times these days that's the last place kids want to go, and Isaac took so much passion in it. Great kid.
Well, sometimes when you're 6'5" and 280, you got to just face the facts and realize you're a lineman. But another one, your son Austin, great quarterback for you guys. Went on to Washington State and then ended up at New Mexico. Just recently, he's still trying to play. Recently had workouts with the Bills and the Patriots, and just talk briefly about what Austin's doing and where his football career is at this point.
You know, Austin's one of those unique kids. You know, I don't know if I can count on, I know I can't count on one hand. I may struggle to count on one or two fingers that you're ever around that it is, he gets it. He's just never satisfied. A lot of guys, I'm amazed just, you know, from the outside, one being his dad, but just anybody to watch the up and downness of his career through college and then this professional journey is that he just keeps coming back for more. He knows he's got more in the tank. He believes in himself. And it's fun to watch somebody that really has a passion for something and won't let other people's noise disrupt that vision and that focus. And so on both sides, as his former coach and as his dad, it's fun to watch. And obviously, with some bias, man, I hope I get to see him again because as a parent, it's something that we love doing, and I hope I know it won't be. I'll get to watch him again, and where it's at, who knows? But he was a special player.
Awesome. Then one last one is a player I know you guys missed a lot this spring. Cole Wynn was just the state player of the year last year as a junior at Silver Creek in baseball, and chose to leave here and move to California. To get maybe a better opportunity there, and I think it sort of worked out for him. I went to Orange Lutheran High School in the LA area, and just a few days ago was named the Gatorade Player of the Year in California. 8-2 record, one loss was a 1-0 defeat, 0.21 ERA, gave up 2 earned runs in 67 innings, strikes out almost 2 batters an inning, leads his team in home runs and RBIs. Tremendous player. He's being talked about as a top 10 pick in the upcoming draft, and that kid's going places, isn't he?
I'll tell you what, a quick story about Cole that as scouts were calling me and this, that, and the other that I always tell is I remember Cole, he was in my weights class in the fall of his freshman year, and honestly, so busy doing football and, don't worry much a lot about middle school kids, right? Because they all have a story, and so I hadn't really followed anything on Cole, but he came up in a weights class and just said, Coach, have you ever had a freshman play varsity baseball? Obviously, it happened to be my first year, too, but I was with the program, and I said, you know what, honestly, Cole, if they're good enough, we'd let them to play. And he said, I'll be there, Coach. Yeah. And, you take it with a grain of salt, and within the first winter workouts, you knew that one Cole would be there that year and that he was a special talent.
Yeah. Well, with him, we might have been talking about you guys at the state tournament this week. Obviously, just a tremendous player, and I wish him a lot of luck, but certainly awesome to see. Although he's going to be labeled as an Orange Lutheran high school kid, it's really cool to see a Longmont kid that's potentially going to be a top 10 pick in the draft. So just 3 of the amazing players that you've had over the years at Silver Creek, and quite a run, Coach.
I appreciate it, Brian. I appreciate Channel 8's coverage of the community of Longmont. It's what makes this community so special, and appreciate your time and Blaine's back there. I mean, you guys got a great thing going here, and you better keep it going because it's how I'll be able to keep up with stuff. So thank you.
Yeah, we'll definitely keep it going, and we wish you a lot of luck in Cheyenne Central, and we'll be following you there. So thanks a lot for joining us. Really appreciate it. That'll do it for us this week, and we'll be back next week to wrap up the entire school year. We want to thank Blaine Robinson and Don Gurton, as well as Tim Ellis, for all they've done for this show. Like us on Facebook and check us out on the web at longmontchannel.com, where you can watch this or any other programs you like here on Channel 8. And as always, we'll look forward to seeing you again next week.